The gymnasium echoed with nervous chatter and folding chairs squeaking. Kids were laughing, teachers clapping, music acts warming up. And then someone shouted, "Let the security guard read something. He's always watching from the back like a ghost." The room erupted in laughter. He stood silently near the exit, holding his keys. The principal handed him a piece of paper. "Why don't you come up here, Mr. Carter?" He walked to the mic. No one noticed his hands trembling until he opened his mouth. "Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin." The laughter was still ringing in Michael Carter's ears as he stepped onto the stage. He hadn't planned to speak. Not tonight. He was just the school's security guard, 42, single dad, ex-military, the kind who blended into the background like hallway shadows. His uniform was wrinkled, his boots scuffed, his voice barely used unless it was to break up fights or tell kids to slow down in the halls. He was invisible. Until now. He looked out into the crowd, hundreds of students, parents, faculty. But all he could see was his daughter, Lily, sitting front row, third seat from the left. 12 years old, wearing the blue sweater he'd darned himself, hands folded tightly in her lap. She looked scared for him. He cleared his throat. "This poem," he began, voice rough with nerves, "wasn't written for a stage. It wasn't written for claps or trophies or hashtags. It was written for a woman who's no longer here, and for a girl who's sitting right there." Lily's eyes widened. The room fell completely still. Michael glanced at the note card again, even though he didn't need to. He knew every line by heart. She laughed with broken ribs. And "Kiss me like the war" never happened. She stitched her silence into the torn flags of my heart and whispered promises I was too scared to make. When she died, I thought the world would go on screaming, but it only paused so I could learn how to breathe again, with a child in one hand and her photo in the other. A gasp from the audience. Someone choked back a sob. Michael looked up. That was for my wife, Amanda, and for Lily, who never got to hear her mother read bedtime stories. Silence. And then applause. Not polite, not forced, but real, raw. Parents stood. Teachers stood. Even the students, every last one of them. Lily cried in the front row. The MC stammered back onto the mic, clearly shaken. Thank you, Mr. Carter. That was... I don't think any of us were expecting." He didn't wait to hear the rest. Michael walked off stage, nodded once, and returned to his usual post by the gym door, arms folded. The applause still thundering behind him. The gym door clicked softly behind him as Michael Carter leaned back against the cold concrete wall, eyes on the ground. The applause still rumbled from inside like distant thunder, but he didn't smile. He never did, not in public. A few passing students whispered as they looked back at him. One girl said, "That gave me chills," and her friend replied, "Who knew the security guy could write like that?" He heard every word, didn't react. Years of watching, waiting, guarding. He was used to being quiet while the world moved around him. Then, a small hand slipped into his. Lily. She didn't say anything. She just stood beside him and leaned against his hip, the way she used to when she was 6 and scared of lightning. She was 12 now, almost a teenager. But tonight, she needed her dad. "Was that really about Mom?" she finally asked. Michael looked down. His eyes softened. Every word. She sounded like magic. She was. The hallway lights buzzed above them. Michael ran his hand over his buzz-cut hair. "She used to read me poems, even when I didn't believe in that stuff. Thought it was all frilly and useless. But when I was deployed and the silence was killing me, I found her old journal in my bag. She snuck it in." Lily's eyes welled up. "I wish I knew her more." "You do," Michael said. "Every time you laugh. Every time you help someone. That's her." Just then, a voice interrupted. "Mr. Carter?" Michael looked up. It was Principal Owens. The man's face was flushed, clearly moved. I just wanted to say thank you. I don't think anyone in that gym will ever forget tonight." Michael gave a nod. Just did what was asked. "Well," Owens chuckled nervously. "Next time, we're asking you first." He turned to leave, but then stopped. "Actually, a reporter from the local paper was in the crowd. She wants to talk to you. Said something about wanting to publish the poem." Michael froze. No. Owens looked surprised. No. Michael's jaw tightened. It wasn't written for publication. It was written for my wife. That's all. Owens paused, then nodded in understanding. Of course. I'll tell her. When the principal left, Michael exhaled long and slow. He hated attention. Hated the way it made people invent versions of you that didn't exist. Tonight would pass. Tomorrow, he'd be back to breaking up hallway fights and chasing after tardy slips. That was fine with him. He walked Lily out to the parking lot, holding her backpack like he always did, slung over one shoulder with the broken zipper Amanda used to call character. They reached the old pickup. Rust ate at the doors, and the passenger window was permanently stuck halfway down. But Lily never complained. Michael opened the door for her, waited until she was buckled, then climbed in. As they pulled out, she spoke softly. Dad, I'm proud of you. Michael blinked a few times, staring straight ahead. Thanks, kiddo. Then, from the back of his mind, a memory clawed its way forward. 10 years ago, Iraq. Smoke everywhere. Sand in his throat. Amanda screaming orders at him. Her leg already bleeding, shrapnel embedded in her thigh. He'd gone back for her, despite the commander's order to retreat. She grabbed him by the collar and hissed. You go. I swear I'll haunt you until your soul limps. He didn't leave her. He carried her out. She married him a year later. Back in the present, Michael cleared his throat and focused on the road. When they got home, a small 2-bedroom in a quiet suburb, they found something on the porch. A bouquet of sunflowers wrapped in newspaper and tied with a red shoelace. No card, just a sticky note that read, "For the poem that made my son cry. Thank you. A grateful mom." Michael stared at it for a long time. Lily picked up the bouquet and smelled it. They smell like sunshine. He didn't answer. He was still staring at the note. That word, grateful. It felt like a language he hadn't heard in years. He stepped inside, turned off the alarm, and dropped his keys into the ceramic bowl Amanda had once painted at a community pottery class. It was chipped now, but he refused to throw it away. Lily went to her room to change. Michael sat down at the kitchen table, opened his wallet, and pulled out a photo. Amanda in uniform, laughing, arms around his neck. He whispered, "They listened to me today, babe." His voice cracked. They heard me. Then, as he set the photo back in his wallet, his phone buzzed. A message from a number he didn't recognize. You saved me tonight. I was going to end things after the show, but then you spoke. You reminded me that love doesn't die. It just changes shape. Thank you. He stared at the screen, heart thudding. Then another message came in, this time from the school's front office. Call me. We have a situation, and it involves you. Michael's jaw tensed. The peace of the night shattered. Michael Carter gripped his phone tighter. The message blinked on the screen like a warning light. Call me. We have a situation, and it involves you. It was from Vanessa, the school's secretary. A quiet, warm woman in her 50s who always gave Lily extra crayons and slipped free lunch coupons in her backpack. If she was texting this late, something was off. He stepped onto the back porch, the wood creaking under his boots, and dialed her number. She picked up instantly. Michael. Thank God. I didn't want to text this, but her voice dropped. Someone posted a video of your poem online. It's gone viral. 40,000 views in 2 hours. Michael shut his eyes. No. There's more, she whispered. Someone recognized your name. A man. He called the school, asking questions about you. Said you serve with him. Something about Kandahar. Michael went still. Kandahar. There were only 3 people alive who knew what really happened there. One of them was him. One was buried in Virginia. The third was supposed to be dead too. What did he want? Michael asked, his voice low and dangerous. He didn't say much, just that he's coming to see you. Tomorrow. Michael's pulse pounded. Did he give a name? Just said, tell Ghost I'm coming. A memory flared in Michael's mind. The smell of cordite. The sound of a helicopter rotors above a burning outpost. And a voice screaming through the static. Ghost. You leave me here, and I'll crawl out of hell to find you. Michael whispered Santiago. Vanessa gasped. You know him? I knew him. After hanging up, Michael stood there in the dark, gripping the porch railing until his knuckles turned white. For a long time, he didn't move. Lily opened the door. Dad? Everything okay?" He looked at her, smiled the way only a father can. Tired, sad, but trying. "Yeah, baby. Just got some news." The next morning, school was buzzing. Teachers whispered. Kids stared. Several parents who had seen the video pulled Michael aside to thank him, some even hugging him without warning. One old man shook his hand and said, "You reminded me of my son. He was a poet, too. Lost him in '09. Thank you." Michael nodded politely through it all, but his mind was elsewhere. He scanned every hallway, every parking lot, waiting. By noon, he spotted him. A man leaning against a black sedan just outside the chain-link fence. Aviators. Scars along his jaw. Same build. Same stare. Ghosts don't age, but this one had. Michael walked right up to him. "Thought you were dead." The man grinned. "I was. Until your little poetry reading brought me back." "Santiago," Michael said coldly. "Why are you here?" The man shrugged. "Didn't come for war stories. Came because I owe you. And maybe because you owe me, too. I don't owe you anything." "Oh, but you do," Santiago said, stepping closer. "You left me bleeding in a desert pit and told the chopper I was gone. But I lived, and I've been carrying something ever since." Michael stared. "What?" "A letter." Michael blinked. "What letter?" Santiago pulled out a folded, sun-bleached envelope from his coat. "Amanda gave it to me before that final mission. Said, if I don't make it, and Michael does, give him this. Not right away. Not until he remembers how to feel again." Michael's stomach twisted. "Why didn't you give it to me then?" he demanded. Santiago gave a bitter laugh. "Because you left me, ghost. And I wasn't ready to forgive that. But now, after hearing that poem, I think maybe you've carried your own pain long enough." He pressed the letter into Michael's hand. "Don't read it here," Santiago said. "Do it somewhere quiet." Then he turned and walked away. Michael stared at the envelope in his hand. Amanda's handwriting. Faded, but unmistakable. He went home early that day. He sat at the kitchen table, the same one Amanda once spilled apple juice over when they'd laughed too hard during their first Thanksgiving as parents. He opened the letter. "Michael, if you're reading this, I didn't make it, and I'm sorry I left you alone with all this weight. I know how heavy the world is for you. You've always been brave, but not with your feelings. That's okay. It's why I loved you. But please don't disappear when I go. Don't fade into shadows. Our daughter needs light, and you are her son, even when you think you're only smoke. One day, someone will ask you to speak. Maybe it'll be a poem. Maybe it'll be a bedtime story. When that day comes, speak for me. Speak like I'm listening. I promise I'll be listening. Love always. Amanda." Michael covered his face with both hands and wept for the first time in years. Not like a soldier, not like a guard, like a man who'd just heard his wife speak from the grave. Lily walked in and saw him crying. She rushed to him. "Dad, what happened?" He handed her the letter. She read it quietly, then wrapped her arms around his neck. I think Mom will be proud of you," she whispered. Michael didn't answer. He just held her, because he knew it was true. 3 days later, Michael Carter found himself standing in front of the school board. Not in uniform, not on duty, just a man in a worn gray jacket, jeans, and tired boots, holding a folded piece of paper in one hand and a tight jaw in the other. He didn't want to be here. But ever since the video of his poem went viral, over 3 million views now, things had changed. Dramatically. Some parents praised him. Others said it was unprofessional for a school employee to overshadow the kids. One even called the poem too dark and claimed it triggered her child. The board chair, a woman named Janice Whitmore with rigid posture and emotionless eyes, tapped a pen against her notepad. "Mr. Carter, we understand you meant well, but we have concerns regarding emotional content, tone, and public perception. You're not a licensed educator. This type of public platform could misrepresent school policy." Michael said nothing at first, just sat there, feeling the weight of the letter Amanda had left, of Santiago's scarred face, of Lily's small hand on his arm this morning, whispering, "Don't let them dim your light, Dad." "I didn't mean to become anyone's symbol," he said at last, voice low. "I didn't even want to be on that stage. I was asked, by your principal." He let that hang. "I'm not here to teach poetry. I'm not here to perform. I'm here because I protect your students. Every day. I open the doors. I check the alarms. I make sure the kids who cry in the bathroom have someone looking out for them. One of the younger board members leaned forward, curious. "Mr. Carter, where did you learn to write like that?" Michael met his eyes. "From my wife. She used to say poetry is where the truth hides when no one wants to hear it spoken." Janice frowned. "Be that as it may, we believe you should take a temporary leave while we investigate further." Michael laughed once, bitterly. "You're putting me on leave for speaking honestly? For grieving?" The room tensed. "I was a soldier for 15 years. I watched friends die. I carried bodies. I saw kids who looked like your students scream in languages I didn't understand. And when I came home, I was broken. My wife pieced me together with words." His voice cracked. "And then she died, and I became a ghost." The silence was sharp. "But last week when I spoke, I wasn't a ghost anymore. I was a father, a husband, a man trying to give 1 ounce of meaning back to a world that's spinning too damn fast." Janice's pen stopped tapping. Michael stood up. "Suspend me if you want, but don't pretend you're doing it for the students. They're the ones who told me afterward they'd never forget what they heard. Some even told me it gave them courage. So if that's a problem for you, then I'm not the problem. You are." He walked out without waiting for a response. Later that day, Lily came home from school early. Michael was surprised. He just started repairing the kitchen faucet when she pushed the door open and slammed it behind her. "What's wrong?" he asked, wiping his hands. Her eyes were red. "Everyone at school saw the video. Some kids think it's cool. But a few are saying I'm just the sad poem girl. They said you're just trying to get attention." Michael knelt in front of her. "You want me to take it down?" Lily hesitated. "No," she said, "but I want to say something too. I want people to know who you really are." Michael blinked. "Like what?" "I want to go on stage and read my poem at the city showcase next week. I signed up. They put me on the list. I just need you there." He stared at her, heart pounding. "You're sure?" She nodded. "You taught me that words have power, so now I'm going to use mine." Michael hugged her. "Then I'll be front row, just like you were for me." The night of the showcase arrived fast. An open-air amphitheater in downtown Charleston, packed with hundreds, students, parents, reporters. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden streaks across the stage. Michael sat on the edge of his seat as Lily walked to the mic. She wore Amanda's old denim jacket, sleeves rolled up. Her voice shook at first. "My name is Lily Carter, and this is called The Man at the Door. He doesn't smile in photos or laugh in loud rooms, but he made me pancakes when I cried over scraped knees. He opens doors, not just with keys, but with kindness. They called a broken, said he was just a shadow, but he's the reason I know that silence doesn't mean emptiness. It means strength. It means someone was strong enough to carry 1,000 unspoken things and still show up. For me, there was a pause, and then the crowd rose. Applause, tears, phones in the air. Michael didn't clap right away. He just stared, because in that moment, he realized Amanda hadn't just left him with grief. She'd left him with her voice through Lily. 2 days after the city showcase, the front porch was covered in envelopes. Letters, dozens of them, some handwritten in thick markers, others typed and folded neatly in business envelopes. All of them addressed to Michael Carter, the security guard who made the world cry. He stood silently, hands on his hips, staring down at the pile. Lily stepped out behind him. "That one's from Texas," she said, picking up an envelope with a postage stamp shaped like a cowboy boot. He opened it slowly. "Dear Mr. Carter, my son has autism. He doesn't speak much. But after he watched your video, he walked up to me and said, 'That man misses someone.' It was the first sentence he said in weeks. Thank you for giving him something worth noticing. A grateful mother." Michael blinked fast. His throat thickened. Another letter came from a teenager in Indiana. "Your poem made me sit down with my dad for the first time in months. We didn't talk about anything deep, but we sat together. That was a start." Another, from a retired Marine. "Didn't think anyone remembered us. Thought maybe silence was just part of the job. Your words made me remember my wife. I hadn't cried since her funeral. I needed that." Michael read them all, every single one, until the sun dipped low and Lily came out again with 2 steaming mugs of cocoa. She didn't say much. She just curled up next to him and placed her head on his shoulder. That's when the phone rang. He almost didn't answer it, but something told him to. "Mr. Carter?" The voice on the other end said, "Female. Firm. Polished. This is Andrea Lowell. I'm the executive director of the Southeastern Veterans Foundation." Michael straightened. "Yes, ma'am. I watch your performance. Both yours and your daughter's. And I think I speak for every staff member when I say we were floored, moved, inspired." Michael said nothing. He was still trying to figure out what this had to do with him. "We're launching a nationwide initiative called Silent Valor, aimed at bringing poetry and storytelling workshops to veterans across America. We'd like you to be the face of it. Travel, speak, lead workshops, read your work, train others to find their voice again." Michael stood up from the porch bench, phone pressed to his ear. "You want me to teach poetry?" Andrea laughed warmly. "Not just poetry. Presence, courage, grief, healing. We'll cover the salary, housing, travel. Your daughter can join you if you choose to homeschool or enroll her remotely." He turned to look at Lily through the screen door. She was reading one of the fan letters, eyes wide. Andrea continued, "You said in your poem that love changes shape. We believe your words can change lives. What do you say?" Michael took a long breath, then whispered, I say yes." That night, he sat at the kitchen table with Lily. The letter from Amanda still lay nearby, creased from use, like a worn-out compass. "You sure you're okay with leaving school?" he asked her. She shrugged. "They'll still tease me no matter where I go. But if we do this, if we go out there and help people with stories, that feels like something Mom would want." Michael smiled. "Yeah, me too." Weeks passed. They packed, said goodbye to the school. Even Janice Whitmore, the board chair who once called him a liability, shook his hand and said, "Turns out, Mr. Carter, we were the ones who didn't see clearly." Michael grunted. "You still suspended me." She laughed awkwardly. "Let's call it a learning opportunity." In their new city, Michael and Lily stood inside a community center filled with veterans, young and old. Scarred, silent, stooped, restless. Michael stepped up to the mic. He didn't need cards this time. He spoke from the same place Amanda once kissed on his temple every morning, the place behind his quiet, behind his pain. "They call me a guard, a ghost, a man built of quiet. But I've learned something. Silence isn't emptiness. It's where truth lives before it finds its voice." Then he invited others to read. One by one, hands rose. And by the time Lily stood up at the end and read a new piece titled My Father's Second Life, even the toughest soldiers in the back row were wiping their eyes. Months later, at a veterans summit in Washington, a young man approached Michael after his keynote. He was barely 20, with shaking hands and faded dog tags around his neck. "You saved me, sir," the boy said. "I was going to give up. I thought no one understood how heavy this all is. But then, I watched your poem, and I heard you say you're still grieving. And I thought, maybe that's okay. Maybe I can keep going too." Michael pulled him into a hug, not because it was part of the job, but because grief had become his gift, and kindness his voice.